am so happy to have medium Carrie Wilson back on the podcast. How are you doing, Carrie?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm doing very well. And we're on video today. So
I know. I know.
we gotta wave for the people. We gotta So we're trying something new. We're stepping it up over here. Well, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about on today's podcast is the fact that we are in a period of time where it just seems like we're seeing a lot of people drift away from our shared reality, sometimes very dramatically. I've just people that I know, people in my sphere, friends of friends. We had a very salacious case of something happening here in Los Angeles not too long ago. It was around the time of the most recent eclipse we had. And it was interesting because I live here. And so I heard the news about what had happened because it was an incident that occurred on a freeway here. And it was quite dramatic and it involved two children and a woman who ended up dying in a wreck.
Yeah.
And so it was a very dramatic situation all on its own, and I didn't really know any more details than that. And then, as more information came out, it turned out that the woman was a what they call an astrology influencer, because I guess she had a large enough following that the media, that's how they interpreted, the work that she did. I believe she also did some sort of spiritual healing and perhaps Reiki and things like that, and other services that she offered. But it turns out that she had said some pretty extreme things about the eclipse and fear that she was having around the eclipse, something about it being a moment where we would have to kind of choose a side that we were on, and a sort of apocalyptic new reality was being ushered in.
Right.
And yeah, so as an astrologer, I just want to say, like, right off the top, that isn't astrology. It's not accurate astrology. So I don't really know this person's work very much, but for what it sounds like to me, it doesn't sound like this person was trained in astrology in, the proper way. Because I think, as we've talked about on this podcast before, in the spiritual space in general, it does feel like some people have taken a lot of liberties with some of the subject matter,
Yeah.
kind of made their own interpretations. And at least from an astrological perspective, like, there is stuff that is, you can't just make it up. It's not, you don't just riff off of things
Right. Yeah.
like that. And so it kind of seems to me that this person didn't, at least in terms of astrology, did not know what they were talking about. And so somehow, some way, ended up in a situation where they were believing something that was pretty scary.
Yeah. And my deepest condolences to her family and any lives that were affected in that. It's very tragic. But my answer also, or my rebuttal, or whatever you want to call it, is very assholish. In it's like, where have you been?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, um, I've been doing this since 2013, and I have seen it this whole time. Even if you
Mm-hmm.
go back to, um, and I'm not going to get the periods right and all that because it's hard to remember. But even if you start with like twin flames, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they were back way back when, but then in I think it was like 1972, they were like awakened again, and so now it's this spiritual thing, when in
Yeah.
actuality twin flames, soulmates, twin flame readings, soulmate readings is a selling point. There's a documentary on Netflix called Surviving Twin Flames, even, where this dude and his wife made millions. I know that's, besides the point, but my point is people's perception, just like I teach in mediumship class, your perception is your reality. So if you are having a bout with some kind of mental health issue, or going into spiritual psychosis, which there's signs of that: erratic behavior, hearing voices, just different things like that, um, then it's going to it's going to sort of flavor everything, right?
Mhm.
And what I mean by I have seen this the whole time I have been, I guess, a reader is you have always had twin flames or soulmates or Akashic records or past lives and for me, being an evidential medium, I need evidence of all these things. Um, there's no true, real evidence that a past life reading is true and concrete. You know, oh, you're afraid of loud noises because you were in the Civil War a soldier by the cannons. That shit can be picked up psychically. When I was trained to do past life readings, I was trained to close my eyes and say the first thing that come to my mind. Boom, done, sorted. There's your past life reading. That's absolute horseshit to me. Absolute. So I think one thing that has happened is there's so fucking many of us, Casey. There's so many of us in our fast-paced world. There's so many of us that want to be a part of the collective. We want to be a part of the community. And in that we want to be super special or super spiritual, because in our minds we feel like we're higher up when we're able to do things. I'm doing air quotes in case this doesn't make YouTube. 'Cause we can't do things that other people can do, and so I think what happens is we almost become our own snowball, if that makes sense. Things just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it's almost like you start believing your own bullshit. Now, with that young lady, her having mental health issues, went hand in hand with what she was experiencing. And I wish that she would have been able to get some help. I wish, she would have had someone around her that said, "Hey, man, you know, you might need to get some help," um, because it's already, it's almost like it's already hard enough. I mean, I'm sitting here, I talk to dead people. People
Right.
think I'm fucking crazy. I'm in the South. Hey, what do you do for a living? Well, I'm a psychic medium. I had a person the other day tell me, say, "Oh, what do is that? Try to do his accent. Oh, you ain't one of them voodoo doctor mediums, are you?" And I just said, "No, sir, I'm not no voodoo doctor. I'm not no voodoo doctor," and just left it at that. Because
You're not?
I don't know, not today anyway. Maybe in a past life.
Perhaps, yeah, possibly.
But I didn't want to lie to him either. But
Hmm.
so you just have, I think a lot of this stems from loneliness, if I'm honest, and because I don't know if you have experienced this yet. I would venture to guess that you have. When you read for someone and they start telling you about their life and all that, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I've never told anybody this," or "I'm so glad I can talk to you about this because I don't feel like I'm crazy." I get a lot of those type of people. People just want to be heard, but in that sometimes we go about it the wrong way, and you get all up in your ass, and you know you I don't know, you don't go about it the right way, if that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah. Well, the fact that this was around the eclipse
Yeah,
was really, as an astrologer, it worried me that this was because we saw leading up to the eclipse so much fear mongering
yeah,
from, spiritual people, also from, evangelical Christians who are very consumed by, the second coming of Christ and
yeah,
deciding when that's going to be and proclaiming that it's going to be on this day and this day, and it never is.
yeah,
And there was just so much energy around building up this eclipse as this hugely significant event. And eclipses in astrology are significant. They are significant events. And where the misunderstanding seems to happen is that, yes, those are significant events, but usually we're seeing big changes in leadership in some way or another. There's, people that are in positions of power. So, like world leaders or CEOs of large companies, because, you're in a lot of power in that
Yeah.
position. You have a lot of control over your own life and other people's lives. Also, weather events and things like that, those can also coincide with eclipses. So, on some level, there is this intensity to it, but when people hear that, or maybe they just understand that from not even astrology or spirituality, but like other people, telling them, just because historically that has just been the case, they're translating that to other things
Right.
or personalizing it.
Yeah.
And most of us are not these powerful people. So, my advice for people is always to remember that and separate those two things. But you can see how somebody who maybe was not mentally well, and also was engaging in, fear based spirituality to some degree, could take that and kind of run with it and either receive bad information about it from someone else or kind of make it up themselves. I don't know what the
Yeah.
situation was, but it's, taking just this little grain of reality and then spinning this other
Again,
whole thing.
or her, their people in general, their perception became their reality. For me, I don't know, it might seem cynical or whatever, but it's kind of like, for anything beautiful, there's always going to be somebody who fucks it up. There's always going to be that person out there that's going to fuck up the wet dream kind of thing. You know what I mean? You have this beautiful, and please know that I'm not talking directly about this young lady. I'm talking about people in general. I'm just saying that because I don't want to seem like I'm being whatever the word is for her and her family. That's not what I'm getting at. But there will always be someone to to fuck it up. You know, um, you have this beautiful event of the eclipse that people traveled all over to come see, and all those good happy horseshit things. And I feel like even when you go back to the religious side of it, not the spiritual side, because in my opinion, religion and spirituality is different. If you go to the religious side of it, that shit has been planted for forever. I was raised, and I know it's not exactly the eclipse, but it's the full moon. I was raised with the notion of, especially here in the South, that people act fucking crazy during the full moon. Women give birth, people act crazy, there's more ER visits, all this other stuff. Now, as I got older, and become like, okay, where's the science in this? I did in fact find out for people with autism, full moons do fuck with them because they can feel the pull of the water. How do I know? I have two children who have autism. So I do kind of wonder, I guess in that scope of things, if the the eclipse messes with people in that way. But it's
Mhm.
and that's just me like speedballing in my mind going. But I do feel like I don't know, and it sounds so mean, but I don't mean it mean. But there's always someone who's gonna fuck something up, and I think that's where it becomes our job as legit people in our industry to not necessarily speak out against it in a aggressive way, because if you meet people with aggression, they're going to get aggression back and they're not going to hear a fucking thing you say.
Mhm.
But if you meet people in a kind, compassionate way of like, hey man, this is not really the way this is, I feel like we can sort of spread the message together. you know. Um, but I don't know. It's very frustrating. I can imagine. I'm not even astrologer. Apparently, I'm a voodoo doctor. So I can imagine the frustration. I don't know. I mean, I was gonna say I don't know why, but I do know why. All of a sudden, uh, more things like this are having the light shed on them, and it's because there's been more of a boom in social media, more of a
Mhm.
boom in people who are not on the up and up, alongside with people who are on the up and up, being on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram, to get themselves out there for readings. So in that, you have the people over here who are going to fuck things up. And the craziest thing for me is, Casey, is I could go live right now and maybe have 13 people watch. But you take a bitch who's dressed like Miss Cleo and faking stuff and got the bindi diamond, and she's white as mayonnaise and just got the whole fucking garb on, and they'll have 9,000 views, and it's like, are you are are people really taking, like, give me your monies. I'll help you. you know uh,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not about the money, but it's just it's very curious to me that the selling points actually work. The selling point of dressing up like a fucking idiot, which is what people are doing, is actually working. So to me, it has a snowball effect for me of, where is the common sense? Where is the logic? Which goes back to um, spiritual psychosis for me, because you lose all logical, rational thought, you know, um, and you think you're having a spiritual awakening when you're not. They're two very, very different things.
How would you describe the difference between a spiritual awakening versus an episode of spiritual psychosis for somebody that is, maybe not sure what they're experiencing?
Well, in my opinion, and opinions are assholes, everybody's got one. In my opinion, you need to look at whether or not you do have a mental health issue to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in saying that, that does not mean that if you do have a mental health issue or neurodivergent, that you can't be a medium or an astrologer. Da, da. In fact, it's the opposite. But I digress. But look at what type of mental illness you may have is going to be your first thing. Um, and that's going to go on the side of sort of spiritual psychosis. Look at how does it, when you hear God or gods or whoever, and when you think these things like the end is nigh or whatever, is there this fear with it? Is it this fast pace, just like coming at you type of information, right? Whereas a spiritual awakening, it's a fucking journey. It is not like, I'm going to have all the downloads right now and just know every fucking thing there is to know. It's not like that. It's slow and it's smooth, and well, it is not smooth on the journey. The information is smooth. You know, um you don't hear you have subjective hearing and objective hearing. Most of the time, if you're going to hear God or hear a God or hear whoever, I don't care, your grandpa, it is going to be in your own voice, because objective hearing is very rare. So if you're hearing some other dude's voice and you think it's God, baby, you might need to get checked out some too, because on the other side of that, and this is where people don't always add up with me, and that's fine. I respect their belief systems as long as they respect mine. Is that spirit is of love. right? That doesn't mean that bad shit doesn't happen, meaning, happen to you in your meat suit kind of thing. But they're of love. They're not going to give you something frantic that you can't do dick about. That's not how that works. So slow and
Yeah.
steady is a spiritual awakening. It's all of a sudden waking up one morning and son of a bitch, I can see a dude standing in my corner kind of thing. And then it goes away. And then, it might come back and it goes away. Whereas spiritual psychosis is the only way I know how to explain it is you're frantic and you have lost all rational thought. You know, so yeah.
Yeah, I have observed that in my experience, nothing that I ever receive is fear-based or anxious feeling. Like, and I think for people that do struggle with or experience anxiety and things like that, it can be difficult to differentiate. But I have found that when I feel that I am connected, it's never anxiety inducing. It's never there is no crossover in that sense. And I think that's a really important thing for people to know.
It's never that rushed feeling or the hair standing up. Well, your hair may stand up on your arms or whatever. That does happen in mediumship, but it's never that emergency type of feeling that comes along with it. It's not that. And it's
Yeah.
it's uh it's sad to me that that is where we are landed, where we have landed, and it's even sadder to me that people buy into it. You know, Again, like the concept of the eclipse with apocalypse, the concept of twin flames, the concept of I don't spirit babies, and the concept of soulmates, and all this. Like, what? Like at this
Yeah.
point, it's like we're just pulling shit out of our ass. Like I don't know. I have very strong opinions on a lot of things, and I try to be respectful about them, but I also talk the way I talk. You know, so there's
I
that.
think well, so from my perspective, I think that I've been in this space not quite as long, not nearly as long as you have, and just in the brief time that I didn't used to know what a starseed was or what a twin flame was up until a few years ago.
You made my eye
People.
twitch. Oh, oh,
And and what it seems like to me is that a lot of these devices, and one of the reasons that I feel even compelled to speak about them at all is not because I'm like a hater or I just want people to be miserable or not have their ideas or their beliefs, but there are a specific group of ideas, and I don't even know that they're necessarily related, that feel very escapist to me. They feel very fantasy based to me, and they feel very reflective of other things within our culture.
right,
And those things are troubling to me. And I do see people using, like in that documentary that you mentioned about twin flames, they did, they made millions of dollars of manipulating people and doing things to people that were very destructive, all because these people were very obsessed with the idea that they had this twin flame that they needed to have some sort of reconciliation with. And it leads people into some very dangerous and disturbing places, that they always will have a connection to somebody who in many cases is not even good for them.
right.
And
And I'm on episode 1. I'm just to clarify. I'm not. I'm
yeah,
not
no, same. I
watching it. The
I didn't either.
Where it gets troubling for me, right, is everything you just said to me again is I'm super special. Like I want to be seen, heard, I'm super special. Because there's so fucking many of us, again, we're not seen, heard, all that other stuff. But what are things that people want and are terrified in life? It's like my friend Aubrey told me, if you can control someone's death and what's going to happen when they die, then you can control them. So, death, love, the future, the unknown. If you can give any kind of insight on that, where loved ones go, on things like that, then you have a fucking $1 million industry if you wanted to. That's why I made the statement that soulmates and twin flames, it's a business model. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all it is. We're not out here telling people that, oh yeah, soulmates, that is kind of a thing, but it's not in the way necessarily of love. You have blessings and you have lessons. It's your dog, your chihuahua could be your little soulmate.
Oh, I know she
There
is.
you go. See, because you
Oh,
have
I know
that.
she is.
But to have this notion that you have to do all these things and be all these things, and we all want to be special in some kind of way. We all want to be seen. We all want to be heard. When if we would come to the table and just be our authentic selves,
Hmm.
people would absolutely fall in love with us in one way or another. Now, is that to say that I'm perfect and I put all my shit out there? No, it's not. But this is pretty much as authentic as I'm going to be, because I'm not going to let you in my little box where I have, and cry on air and all that other good horse shit like that. But I'm just saying, if we were authentic with who we are, we wouldn't need all these outside concepts to follow. And
Hmm.
furthermore, as shitty as it sounds, I know I've come on this podcast to talk about it. Right now, in this moment, I can't even remember where fucking starseeds came from. Like, I know you're believed to be alien and super special and all that stuff, but where did the concept come from? Twin Flames, I
Yeah.
know, started with Odin, but also started with Galileo, but then had that thing in 1972. So where did starseeds come from? And where did the other things come from? Someone channeled a galactic being? Where's the evidence in that? At least with
Yeah.
mediumship, I can back it up with evidence and scientifically, because now they got the little happy fucking helmet they can put on and show, that there's shit happening.
Hmm.
So where's the evidence of all the other things?
My observation about the starseed thing, and I don't recall where that concept came from, but if you are a person that believes that we, incarnate in different lives, if we live different lives, and or some part of us does, I don't think it's too far-fetched to say, like, those lives may not have all been here on Earth, but I think that people find, well, what I've seen is that people that are engaged in the starseed stuff, like, for example, I've seen a lot of people come up on my, like, TikTok, for example, on live streams and things, people giving these entire rundowns of intergalactic wars, and and it's funny because it just feels so much like the people that are really interested in science fiction and fantasy and things like that. It just feels like a very similar vibe. And I am somebody that has written science fiction. I have been to Star Trek conventions. There's no judgment from me on that. But to make your past incarnations the central point or a featured point of this lifetime seems very bizarre to me. If that is really your belief, that you had this other existence and, the Pleiades or whatever it was.
Yeah, well, I mean,
It doesn't, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I don't understand the value of
it
making
doesn't
this
mean
life.
shit. Oh, so what? You
Exactly.
were the queen of fucking England like 95 lives ago? How does that trickle down into what type of person are you right now in 2024 today? Are you an
Hmm.
asshole? Are you a motherfucker? Are you kind? Are you loving? Like what kind of person are you? Because just because that's who you was back then doesn't mean shit right now to me.
Yeah.
That's why I mean, and I believe in reincarnation. which funny enough, because I'm evidence based or whatever, but I do believe in reincarnation,
Hmm.
but I don't believe. How do I say? I don't believe that it holds as much weight as it is given. I don't believe that. I hear people say sometimes, God, I must have been a shitty person in a past life. Now that I can get down with. That I can get down with in maybe you were a shitty person in that life and you're not necessarily paying for your, I'm doing air quotes, sins or transgressions. But instead you're learning to be different, right? But that's really as far as the weight for me
Hmm.
goes, because it doesn't mean dick about shit about who the fuck you are today. And I find, I'm getting passionate, I'm sorry, I
It's
find
okay.
that people use it as an excuse to be a motherfucker. That's no, that's not how that works. And in fact, while you're trying to be super special and super spiritual, you're just creating more division from your fellow humans, your fellow man, that you're separating yourself, you
Yeah.
know.
I fully agree on that. And I understand people's desire to have, some form of escape, and I think that if people are seeking to engage with their spirituality in a way that doesn't maybe indirectly harm them,
Yeah.
I think it is really important to not separate yourself from the current existence that you are living to the point where you're engaging in what I would say would be like a fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, you can believe that you had past lives as a person in another, galaxy. If that is your belief, that is totally fine, but I think that, again, to make it a central point in your life, to use it to disengage with real issues
Yeah.
that are happening in the world right now. I was amazed watching this person, even just briefly, as I'm swiping, this person giving this whole rundown of like history that they believe happened in their previous incarnation of these like war dynamics. And I was like, I wonder if this person is capable of giving that detailed of analysis of what's actually happening
Yeah, of where you're
right
at
now.
right now, because
Yeah.
you need to check in with yourself. You need to know, you know, am I a good person? Am I a kind person? Am I saying good stuff? Am I saying kind stuff? I know, I realize I'm not being so kind in this moment, but we're not talking about me, so don't bring that up. But what I'm saying is can you do that in your own life? Because you have to take responsibility for your actions. You have to look over stuff, that way you can heal and progress forward, and and I don't know, not be motherfuckerly. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, there's probably a better
Yeah.
way, but um it's a lot. And I realize that when, for me and you both, Casey, we're gonna have people that listen to this, and they may see me as, well, she's just judgmental as shit. They may see you as judgmental as shit or whatever. It's not necessarily a judgment thing. It is trying to understand the need to put yourself above the common person. What is one thing that I taught all of y'all in mediumship class about if you are a medium?
Well, I mean, I do remember us talking about like it doesn't make you better than
Exactly.
anybody.
And that's it. And my mother, my grandma, I know I'm going through the whole southern thing. My mama, my papa, they all told, I was raised being told, you are not better than anybody else, and there is no one better than you. So everybody's on the same playing field. And if we could get our minds together and just be open to a dialogue, even if you feel like, you were the fucking Queen of England and you're up here from me. if we could just have a dialogue, no, more than likely I'm not going to walk away believing in a fucking thing you're telling me. But that's okay, because you know what? We came together. When
Hmm.
when I was at the shop, which opens in May, by the way, they moved. We used to have people that would come in, and it was so fascinating because it goes along with what you were talking about. With sometimes it sounds like people are living in fantasy worlds, but there are some people who, when they sleep at night, they go fight battles like in an RPG kind of thing.
Hmm.
Do I believe in it? No, I don't. But it was the most fascinating fucking thing to listen to, that this person was out slaying dragons and did it, and it's like, that's really fucking cool, man. Like, no, I don't believe in a damn thing you're saying, but that doesn't mean that just because I don't believe it doesn't mean that you're not experiencing it, because why? Your perception is your reality. But we would have all kinds of people of all different belief systems. I used to call them Theragans. I don't remember what they're called though, but it was people that believed their spirit were that of animals.
Mm.
We had a lady one day get on the floor and meow at the cat, and it's like,
Yeah.
all right then, because you try to be respectful, but at the same time, you have like a 5'8" bitch get on her hands and knees and is meowing at the shop cat, and the shop cat's looking like, bitch, I will knock the fuck out you. Like, what are you supposed to do? I didn't even know there was a thing called that, and then all of a sudden, like, okay, what are we supposed to do about this? Is something happening here? Like, and at the same time, there's a certain side of me that is like, kudos to fucking them, man. You know what I mean? Like, you just
Yeah.
had the balls to get on all fours and meow at a fucking cat on a Tuesday at 5:30 because you wanted to. Good for fucking you. Do you need help
Hmm.
up? Do you need assistance? I just want to make sure we good, bro. But it's like, I don't know, have the conversation.
Hmm.
And then also, maybe if you have the conversation and someone seems like they are in spiritual psychosis and they need help and that they're going to harm themselves or somebody, then you can contact the proper people and let them know. I'm not saying just go out here willy nilly and, oh, this bitch is talking to dead people, da, da, because thank you, my therapist knows very well. But you can tell the difference.
Hmm.
I can still have a cohesive thought. You know, I don't know. It's like this would be the part of the podcast where it'd be like, come together, like the Beatles song.
Right. Exactly. I think that, all of these instances, what is so bad about being a human being and being, who you are right now? And it is sad, and that is something that I do talk about a lot here, is that there is nothing, inherently wrong with you. You know what I mean? And you might have struggles, you might have difficulties, you might have mental health challenges. That doesn't make you, unworthy of being your authentic
Right.
self. And also, not, it doesn't make you unworthy of being in community with other people, but I do think it's really important to understand that we are having a human experience. And if we are engaging with our spirituality, it's important to honor that and not try to seek out these ideas of separation,
Yeah.
or, get in these situations where maybe you're only engaging with people that are kind of like also doing the same thing too, because I think it becomes a bit of like an echo chamber. And
It becomes a cult. Is that the
yeah,
idea that you're trying to like? Because I just hear you saying it becomes a cult.
I mean, it can, I'm sure. I don't personally know, a starseed cult or anything like that, but I wouldn't doubt that something like that could happen,
Could
or
be like tribes of star seeds or something.
yeah. I mean, people, I do identify very strongly with like specific, places. And so I don't know, I'm not in that community or
No, I'm
those
not either.
places, so I don't know, but I don't know to what extent it goes to. But what I do see is a lot of people separating themselves from the experience that they're currently having. And something that I try to do with astrology is, we're looking at your chart as, your human experience in this lifetime. And I can assure you that there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing that is going to warrant you needing to, feel you're already special enough,
Yeah.
because your chart is unique to you. Even if somebody was born at the exact same time in the exact same hospital, you're having your own individual experience.
Yeah.
And I think that that alone is very special. I don't think you need to, add other lore on top of the lore that you're creating here as a human being. I don't think that that's what we're here to do necessarily,
No. And I know I keep using, the snowball thing, but it's almost like you look at it as a snowball or a piece of gum or whatever. You have your one person, and then who may be having a hard time, and then it's like this person joins and this person joins, and it just becomes um this huge thing. I guess, I don't know, Casey, for me at the end of the day, I just feel like we have so much societal conditioning, so much religious trauma, so much childhood trauma, just trauma in general, along with mental health issues, that already separates us, right? And for some people, that trauma, that shit is so bad that it makes them not want to heal or do the work or whatever the proper word is. Um, and there's that, so they start looking to other things. It's a bit like, I'm not necessarily trying to compare it to addiction, but that's the only thing I know how to kind of compare it to. Like, an addict doesn't wake up one morning and say, "Oh, I think I'm gonna, become addicted to this today. Well, boo, let's do it." It's something that they do to check out from life. So just like these people have all this trauma and all this shit going on, they find something that makes them feel good, that makes them feel special, that helps them check out from all that other stuff and put it into a closet instead of facing it. And it's real hard. Um to deal with any kind of trauma like that, but we just really have a hard time facing it, you know.
Yeah. And I think that, to your point, is a lot of people have these traumas and have these experiences. And I can just say, from the work that I've done as an astrologer, not everybody, lives the same life or has the exact same experiences. But I think people would be surprised at how much they have in common with people that are completely different from them. These are extraordinarily common social issues
Yeah.
because we live in a very unhealthy culture in a lot of ways, and there is a lot of generational trauma. We don't have good mental health resources.
No.
We have been very distanced and fractured, especially if you're, I think, a spiritual person from community.
Yeah.
That you can be very isolated. You might be, especially I've noticed with things like starseeds, people that have always felt different
Yeah.
than other people. I have been asked before if I was a starseed, actually a few times. And what it made me think about is like, oh, these people are realizing that I'm neurodivergent,
Yeah.
and they're attributing it to this other thing. And I wasn't, offended or anything like that. I understand that that is, a curiosity that they had. And but it did made me, it made me think about like the fact that a lot of people that have always felt different, have never felt like they fit in anywhere, might find a sense of belonging in these spaces. And I understand that. And I do think that one of the anecdotes to this kind of separation and this sort of fear mongering that we're experiencing from a lot of different directions
Yes.
right now, a lot of different directions, is, community, like building community, being in relationship with one another, having conversations, having these healthy discussions, and also, building communities that are about being authentically yourself. They aren't about making people conform, which that's cult behavior.
Yeah. Yeah.
Making everybody be a certain way and forget parts of themselves or push them down or isolate certain parts of themselves and disengage from their reality. There's nothing wrong with people, to the point where they need to disengage with who they are. That doesn't mean that people don't have things that they need to work on or that causing harm to other people is okay, because it's not. But I do believe that if people had more space and also more desire to really be in relationship with themselves, their human, present selves, and kind of have a radical acceptance for who they are,
Right. Yeah.
and build from there and work from there, instead of deviating into, oh, I got to ascend, so I got to be good enough to make the bus to the new reality. That's the thing, is that there's always this, like, you need to change, or there is the separation, and that is something I think that people should take from this as they go out into the world and they're looking and engaging with different ideas. If it causes you fear, or if it encourages separation from your fellow man, I would say those are two of the biggest red flags.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like sort of I don't know if I want to say it or not. It's just like sort of like one of the telltale signs that, or can be a telltale sign that a person is being abused, is the abuser will remove them from all their friends and family that they possibly can. That is always going to be a red flag. But to also go along with what you were saying, which, by the way, is why I don't like twin flame and soulmate readings, is because you're sitting here telling someone, "Oh, that's your twin flame," and you don't know if they're being abused or what's happening to them. So it's like, no, 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 no. Anyway, sorry. Um, I also feel like, and now I know on this podcast episode, it's like every other podcast episode, I'm cussy and loud and boisterous and opinionated and all that. And, that's how I am on a normal day to day basis, unless I don't have to be. We need to have grace for people and fucking listen to them. So what? The dude that's on all fours thinks he's a cat, believes with every fiber of his being that he's a cat. Okay, man. Did you watch Family Guy last night? Like, it doesn't, as long as you're not hurting anyone, I can meet you with grace and love and understanding. And I'm not a loving light, sparkle and shine type bitch. That's not me. But I will love you with everything in me if you will just come to me and let us have a conversation with each other, because I absolutely love being a safe space for people, because I feel like that is so important to me. And I'm not gonna cry, bitch. You ain't gonna have me crying on camera. But it's because I feel like for most of my life I didn't have a safe space, you know. So I love being that safe space for people. Um, and that's just, I feel like we need to do more of that.
Mhm.
So that's, I don't know, that's my take on it.
Yeah, I do think that building more safe spaces, more supportive communities is part of the solution to some of this. Obviously, we can't do the job of a mental health professional,
Exactly. Yes, that's
so
very
that's really
important.
important to know.
Yeah.
But I do think that on a social level, I think it is really important for us to have healthier spiritual communities in general.
Yeah.
I think that there is a lot of work to be done about unpacking religious indoctrination and a lot of fear-based teachings that we grew up with. I'm somebody that grew up with the fear of the rapture, which is why this stuff I stay the hell away from. I have no desire to be anywhere near it, because it is the exact same feeling
Yeah.
that I get from all the rapture crap that I grew up with. And I don't know that people have made that connection and done that, self work, because that would require facing yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it isn't a fantasy, and it is very real, and it can be challenging. But I also, as somebody who has been engaged in that work my whole life, it feels like it's worth it. I don't need to I love being an astrologer very much. I don't think it makes me better than anybody. I think that it comes with a certain level of responsibility, about the way that I communicate information. And people could come to me and have come to me and told me very personal things about themselves and beliefs that they have, and I always make space for that. And if people are asking me a question, I'll give them my opinion on it. Sometimes people will ask for things like this regarding their chart, and I tell them, like, I think we are here to live the life that we're living.
Yeah.
I think we're here to be the person that we are.
Yeah. We may reincarnate, but this is where we're at, and this is the one that matters. So
Hmm.
make it count.
Absolutely. And I think that there is so much negativity and separation in our culture
Yeah.
already. And again, I'm not a love and light person at all either. And I don't think that, all beliefs are equal, because I do, like I said, I think that some of these beliefs are really damaging. Even
They
if they might seem not damaging on the surface, I do think that there is a lot of damaging beliefs that are being carried around. Like you said, the soulmate thing, the twin flame thing, that's another thing. It's like, you are complete in and of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
People often, are looking for that with astrology. They want to know, yeah, are they going to get married? Are they going to find their soulmate? We have a lot of soulmates. We have a lot of people that we're here to engage with. And I think by narrowing it down and being like, oh, I'm from this other star system, or, I'm here and I'm on this twin flame journey, or, I'm looking for my soulmate. All of that is really narrowing the field of your experience in such a way that I think is you're missing out on a lot of other
Yeah.
things.
If anything, you're looking for love, and you're really hindering yourself because you're boxing yourself into a
Hmm.
specific thing, and you're missing out on 3 or 4 or 5, 10, 15 people that could be loving you romantically, platonically, or what, however,
Hmm.
you could be experiencing all the love in the world, but you're just extremely focused on one thing, you
Hmm.
know.
And you won't see it. You'll miss out on the love that you have right in front of you because you're searching for this kind of fantasy idea of, matching with somebody, and
Right.
it's this one person, and there is no one route. That's the other thing I've learned as an astrologer. There's no one right path. You're never off the path. You're never doing it wrong. You're never, failing. There's not somebody that you need to, find and meet and get in touch with, and your souls unite, whatever it is, you know. And even if you don't have lasers coming out of your ass, you're still a very special person. You don't need any additional stuff
Yeah.
to make you special.
No.
That's it. Period. And I think once people can accept that about themselves, and really, again, it's about building that relationship with yourself on a really deep level, and loving yourself on a deep enough level to do the work, to see yourself honestly, to be real about it, to get help when you need help,
Right.
whether it's community support, whether it is professional support. That is part of that love that I think that we're here to have for ourselves.
There's so many people, and yeah, hell, myself included, and you may include yourself in this a little bit, whatever. I don't know. I don't want to speak for you, but there's so many people out here that have been pushed down, and have forgotten their personal power. And once we start waking up to that, because with your personal power, it doesn't matter how strong of a witch you are, how strong of a Christian you are, how strong of a star seed you are, or whatever else you want to label it, whatever. If you find your personal power, then you can be damn near unstoppable. You
Yeah.
know,
That's the real magic. That's the real magic to me. Is that people are off looking for, this other thing, this other asset that they need to be special. And it's like, you are so extraordinarily powerful, and the potential that you have, should you choose to pursue it, is immense.
yeah.
It's immense.
And even, I mean, and even that, Casey, it's a journey, but we live in a microwave society. I want it. I want it now. I want it yesterday. I want it right fucking now. And a lot of people. I think it's not exactly that a lot of people don't. I'm gonna renege on what I said. I think for some people, it's not necessarily that they don't want to put the work in. It's I think a lot of it is they don't have the time or energy to put the work in. You got a single mom with two kids, and excuse me, and an 8-hour job and a side job, and she's got to cook dinner and get little Billy Bob to the football game and Sarah Jane Susie to ballet. So when does she have time for herself to go to therapy or to do whatever she needs to do to find her personal power or heal.
Mhm.
And a lot of times I feel like that's where people turn to reading material as well. And even with that, you have to be careful because you have some humdingers of some books out there
Mm.
that can be wild. But look, I just want to say this. So when you are looking for reading material and stuff like that, do your research. If you're looking for a specific therapist and that's the route you're going to go, do your research. If you are looking for, a spiritual advisor, an astrologer, whatever, do your research. And I'm not talking about just watching one TikTok live. I'm talking go to their website, read their testimonials, look them up on Facebook, go to their Instagram, investigate them, you know, because I think sometimes what happens is people are in dire straits and then they receive the wrong message and it just makes things worse. It doesn't make it any easier. And that's, really sad for me.
Yeah, I will say that if somebody that is listening to this, if you find yourself in a moment where maybe things are fearful and confusing, there's never you don't need to explain yourself to anybody. You can step away
Yes.
from the astrology, you can step away from the spirituality, because if you notice yourself going in a direction where at least it's causing you fear, anxiety, distress, confusion, whatever it may be, you never have to keep going. You can take a break. You can get some support around it. You don't ever have to. And that is a concern that I have too, because there are people that go out and make all this content and stir people up. It's very popular with astrology.
Yeah.
We saw it with this eclipse,
Yeah.
stirring people up. And this is why I get on here and get on TikTok or whatever. It's not because I want to be right. It's because I can see where it goes. I can see the real tangible result that it has on people, whipping people up, confusing them, scaring them. I deal with it. I clean up the mess.
Yeah.
So there's a reason. And you never have to engage with that stuff. If there are people that are posting, if you notice online that somebody that you're following it's always the end days, it's always we're about to miss the boat,
Yeah.
you can block them. You don't have to take that stuff in, especially if you find yourself in a vulnerable position. You can, disengage from people for a time, even if they're ethical, even if they're doing, they're not doing that. If it is you finding yourself in a position where you're like, you know what, I'm not in a great place right now to even kind of engage with this type of material. It's a little bit too, it's too on the edge for me right now. You always have permission to take agency and do what you need to do for your own mental health. So I encourage people that are in this space to have that awareness. You can always, it's like if you've ever been on a treadmill, those clips that they clip on you. So if you fly off the treadmill, that it stops, so you
Yeah.
don't hurt yourself. Think of it like that. That clip is always there. You know what I mean? Like you can always take a break. Nobody's gonna get.
My mama always told me about uh, shit stirs. She
What?
always said, she always said, you stir the shit pot, you end up licking the shit spoon.
Mm,
So I'm
oh,
just saying, it all comes back around at some point.
Well, let's hope so, I guess. Because there are a lot of people that are getting very wealthy and successful off of scaring the shit out of people, and I'm not a fan of it.
No, I'm
I'm not
not.
a fan.
I'm not either. That always used to bother when I was early in development. That always bothered me.
Yeah.
People that done rescue mediumship or stuck spirits and stuff like that. And in case you didn't know, I don't. I don't prescribe or believe in that type of thing. But it would make me so mad because on the other side of it, you would also have people who were just out and out shitty people, but they were making buku amounts of money from readings, and it's like, wow, you are really a terrible person, man. Like, okay, and that's where my journey of, is karma really a thing started. No, I'm kidding. It started way before that, but still it gets you.
Yeah. Well, I will say that your ethics are one of the reasons why I get readings from you and also have studied with you. So, if people that are listening are looking to get a tarot reading or a psychic reading or a mediumship reading, where can they find you?
You can go to carriewilsonmedium.com and go to book now, and it shows all the services. It's April 21st right now at the time we're recording this. Up until April 30th, I'm going to run a special where all 30-minute services, so it doesn't matter if it's psychic or mediumship or tarot, it's going to be $60, and it's via Zoom kind of thing. So yeah, I mean it's $20 off. So get in while you fit in, and you can book for future. So if you want a $60 reading in June 3rd, you can do that. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today and coming back on the podcast. It's always a pleasure.
well, thank you for having me. I always love it. I always have the best time.